What's happening, everybody? This is Sean Shepard. I'm going to be doing our first reaction video in Cops and Convicts history. So, last night I did an interview with three members of law enforcement, one from the Peoria, Illinois Police Department, one from the San Diego Harbor Police Department, and another from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. He was also a DEA agent. They're all retired. And in this clip I'm about to show you, Daniel Duncan from, formerly of the Peoria, Illinois Police Department, talks about a mental health suspect that he grew up with. He knew the guys. The guy's name is Eddie. And his police department wound up taking Eddie's life. I want to set up the video clip, and then I'm going to show you the video clip. So check it out.
That was local to his house. I was actually right in the area. My parents lived in that area as well. Put it over the broadcast that who the suspect was, because the one of the female officers that first responded there actually knew who he was off video. She put the information out. Reached out to his mother, told his mother that, hey, you need to come home. They have your house surrounded. They believe your son is in the house. He was allegedly have robbed a bank not too far from the house. Some short time after that, I knew, just because of our policy and procedures, I knew the outcome of the situation of what it was going to be, and I knew that wasn't going to be good for Eddie and the whole family and the community, and which it did. In the end, Eddie walked out of the house and lost his life to multiple members of the police department that I worked.
So, for this officer to be so honest, open, and transparent about his department's policies and procedures, he knew that it wasn't going to be a good outcome for Eddie when police arrived on the scene. Let's listen more.
Worked for at that time. And, lost his life to multiple members of the police department that I worked for at that time.
So, based on policy and procedure, Daniel, why did you know that the outcome was not going to be good for Eddie?
I knew through our training and our lack of training. I know through the training of how we deal with individuals that could possibly be armed. I knew that component of it. And then I knew from our lack of training of dealing with individuals that was dealing with mental illness. And so I knew that the outcome was not going to be favorable for him at that moment.
And there was nothing that you could do about it.
There was nothing in the world that I could do about it.
And so let's talk about this. Far too often, the topic of training is discussed during game changer training events. Residents like you and I believe that cops need more training. They need more focused training. But one thing in particular that most officers are very clear about is their lack of training when it comes to dealing with mental health calls. Way too many mental health calls go sideways because members of law enforcement react to the behavior of a mental health suspect in a manner that they view as a threat, whether they have a weapon or they don't have a weapon. And what what Daniel is sharing in that video clip is that he knew that his department was undertrained to deal with mental health calls. That was one strike against Eddie. The other strike against Eddie was he was a suspect of a potential robbery. He might have a weapon. He was in his mother's home. And when law enforcement demanded that he come out, when he came out, they ended his life. And he knew that that was most likely going to be the outcome of that particular call. So the question is, what can we as citizens do to contact local law enforcement, local elected officials to determine a way to change how law enforcement deals with suspects, whether they're armed or unarmed, But even more importantly, because mental health has become such a prominent issue in our society, how can we provide more training to officers that allow them to make better decisions when it comes to mental health patients or mental health suspects? Because obviously it's lacking. Police officers continuously talk about how little training that they get, but yet when 911 calls are made and there's a mental health suspect involved, far too often police respond to that, and perhaps they shouldn't be responding to it. Officers also talk about how there's way too much on their plate, that some 911 calls, a lot of 911 calls may not require a police response. So I just wanted to give my reaction to that video clip, give you a little bit of information on law enforcement training. And if you have any comments, please make sure that you leave them in the comment section below. If you're looking at this on YouTube, if you're looking at this on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, please subscribe to the channel. Please follow us, and I'll get back with you soon.